All right, that's a wild question to ask. uh, I'm not answering that. Starting off, I will say this. Someone asked, a mysterious random person asked, who is your favorite sister? And just to preface that, I only have one sister. So I'll just leave it up to you to figure out who asked me that. What's your favorite part of this project? I think my favorite part of doing this project was getting it done. My favorite part of the process was finishing and posting and then getting feedback. Feedback was awesome and everybody was so nice. The favorite part of the video, like actually favorite section, and it's a combination of things. First off, when part two starts, the shot of my hand on the steering wheel, excellent shot. And I can't necessarily take credit for that. Maybe I had the idea, but Brandon was videoing while I was driving. The music also helps there. It's just a vibe. Most of the music in here was made by my friend Noah.
Think good. Yeah. What do you think as a rapper?
Rock the mic with the agility of a gymnast, kicking it like skateboard P and a kickflip. Push comes to shove, cross T's with the full clips. 21 guns, I'm a savage.
For
That
me,
right there, that's the one.
inspiration can be found in pretty much
Pretty
anything.
much anything. That right there, with the
Songs.
hand tapping on the steering wheel. Yeah, just that whole sequence right there is such a vibe. I love driving scenes. I love good music. So that's my favorite. That's my favorite scene. What inspired your favorite shots? See, that's a loaded question too. I would have to say Gox again, that YouTuber. He was a big inspiration for all of this. I set the camera up on a tripod and I'm like panning it in like that. Like I have it balanced on the ground and I'm like panning it over. Stuff like that, anything like that was just heavily inspired by Gox because he has so many cool camera movements. The hardest shot, that's a good question too. The hardest shot to edit was this one where there's two of me. That one was hard to edit. Like some things were tricky, but nothing was necessarily hard. I think the hardest thing is when I'm by myself. Like if there's a scene, if any scene that Brandon was there to help me, it was so much nicer. And I felt like I felt like I was more composed and more creative. And, but if I was by myself, I would get aggravated and I would get annoyed when things weren't working or just, and that's always been the case. Any video I work on by myself, I tend to get more grouchy. Is there a part two in the works? It's not called part two, but there's another video in the works about my life. And this was about my life. So technically, maybe it could be part two. Every video I make about my life could be part three, part four, part five, but I'm not going to call them that. So in a way, yes, but not really. It's not going to be my second year of photography. It's just something completely different and something, but it has some connecting points to this, which I think will be interesting. Is there anyone in your life that inspires you? Definitely everyone that I'm close to inspires me in some way. Creatively though, it's just everyone I'm around inspires me in some way to be something, whether it's spiritually, mentally, emotionally, as a man, as a son, as a brother, as a family member, whatever. If you inspire me as a creative, as a I don't know, if I'm inspired in any way, that's going to affect every other aspect of my life. So if I'm inspired to be a better Christian, then obviously my creativity is going to flourish. Or if I'm inspired to be a better man, then my creativity is going to flourish because of that. So, but directly, creatively, the people that inspire me most creatively are there's like a lot of online, obviously, like YouTubers, but that's not very personal. Outside of that, like again, Brandon on here, big inspiration. I've grown like my skills before I met Brandon were like they're doing good, and then after I met Brandon, it was like boing, and like my skills just kind of went crazy because he's a very skilled person, and that rubs off on you. So hang out with skilled people. That's the biggest takeaway there. And then like Noah does the music. He helped me with. Well, he just released an album a couple days before I did this video, and I was like, oh my gosh, can I use your music? He was like, yeah, go for it. So I put his music all in here, and his album inspired me in a lot of ways because it's a very long album, and he worked on it for a year, and he could do videos and videos and podcasts talking about that album, I'm sure. And I would love to talk to him about it one day. We should do hey, podcast. We'll do our podcast and we'll talk about your album, because I'm sure so much happened in a year to build up to that album. But that's inspirational. Like, knowing someone that accomplished something like that is so inspirational. And even though that's music and I'm doing video mostly, it still is just so inspiring. Good job, Noah. Y'all go listen to his album for real. Yeah, another good question. Why the Sony a7 IV? I don't think I would have been able to make this video. I don't think I would have had the confidence to make this video if I didn't have the a7 IV. If I had my beginner camera, the Canon Rebel T8i. Nothing wrong with that camera for photos. Terrible for video, especially if you're going to do something like this. Even just having auto stabilization here was very nice. The Sony a7 IV has everything you need. It has log footage so you can color grade more strategically. There's just so many reasons to get the a7 IV over a beginner DSLR camera. But specifically, why the Sony a7 IV? Why didn't I get a Sony cinema camera? I didn't know I was going to do a lot of video. A lot of people, I looked into it, I researched, and I was like, should I get, what kind of Sony should I get? I wanted to get Sony because I honestly thought they looked cooler than Canon. And they do. But as the more I looked into it, I was like, okay, Sony is probably the best option. For price too, like you can get the same, like Sony, the equivalent to Sony and camera, the camera equivalent Canon and Sony, like if it's the same camera, basically, Sony will be cheaper, even though it's basically the same camera. That's what I heard, at least. Don't quote me on that. Research that for yourself. But basically, Sony is cheaper and it's arguably better. So why would you not get Sony? And it looks cooler. They just look so cool. So that was a good reason to get Sony. And then as I researched it, I was like, okay, the a7 IV is a powerhouse for video and photo. And so it's a hybrid camera. And it does have its problems. It overheats, bless its little heart. But that's really the only problem I have with it. And if they got the overheating under control, I would have, like, further along in my career, I'd have probably multiple a7 IVs. But if I want to keep doing video, I want something that doesn't overheat. So I'm saving up for an FX30. Everywhere, everything. Was there a reason for that showing up multiple times? If you're wondering what that means, that's a song by Noah Kahn. There's another car scene. There's another driving scene. Right here. Everywhere, everything is on the radio. Everywhere, everything by Noah Kahn and Gracie Abrams is on the radio right here. And then the other scene is when I'm talking about how lyrics can inspire you. Lyrics, YouTubers, songs, videos, movies, anything can inspire you. That is also there. Inspiration. Right there. It says everywhere, everything on the phone. And he said, is there a reason for that? Basically, not really. I wish there was like a really cool, deep like meaning and reason to that. But one time I was listening to that song and I was like, everywhere, everything, and I was like, wow, what a cool line. And then I kind of just like dove headfirst into this thought process about everywhere, everything. And at this point, I can't remember what it was, but I was very inspired by that and pretty much thought out a whole video based off of that. And it was really good. And then I just kind of forgot about it and I started focusing on other things. And that's okay. That happens a lot. Sometimes you just have ideas and sometimes they don't go anywhere. But either way, it was inspiring. And specifically, it was one lyric that inspired me. So I did put it in here a few times. Also, at this time in my life, making this video that week, I listened to Noah Kahn so much. He was just on my mind a lot. What is your process for planning the timeline or flow of your story? If I can split a video into parts, then I can figure out how to pace it and I can figure out where to put everything and I can figure out a timeline. Obviously, once you get the 3 parts chosen, you have to figure out what to say for that. So I literally just pulled up notes on my phone and started writing. Like I wrote passion, inspiration, expectation. And I was like, okay, what do I think I learned about passion in the last year based on my creative outputs? So I just started writing and I wrote a whole thing about passion. This is my shot list basically. So this was to help me stay organized and to know what to video. Like I wasn't just winging this. So I wrote out my script with every sentence, put what visual interest I want to have there or what scene or what video needs to be there. There needs to be a shot for every sentence. And that took a long time, but it's a great method. Script, shot list, video, then drop all the video and audio in and organize it exactly the way that it was in the shot list. And then correct, fix things, make everything perfect, add in sound effects, all of this stuff. And then boom, you're done, post it, get 7 likes.